there, spooks! We're Sage Spooks. Welcome to the video. Alright, so today we are going to the Lone Star Paracon hosted by Everyday Paranormal. This is definitely not going to be the kind of videos you see on our channel all the time. We will ghost hunt eventually, once we get, stuff we actually need. Emma will not be here today. Unfortunately, she had a family emergency, but you will see her in future videos. So right now we are inside the con. We're just kind of walking around right now. I'll try and talk to the guests that are here to try and interview them, to ask them some questions. But we've got some pretty cool stuff here. We have our first interview. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Hi, I'm Brandy from Blondes and Booze Paranormal Podcast. We cover anything from UFOs, paranormal, or cryptid, or anything weird. So, we like all that weird stuff.
We do too. So I have a few questions for you, if you don't mind. What would you say was the worst thing that we could ever do when exploring the paranormal or the supernatural?
Anything to do with the paranormal is never provoked. I believe, especially if you run across something that's super negative, possibly demonic, even though that's very rare, but if you do, then they can be very harmful to your health. The other thing is if it's a spirit, we got to remember that they were once living too.
Right, yeah.
And that you wouldn't want somebody yelling and screaming at you and calling you names. So that's what I would say, don't ever provoke.
All right. That's okay. Sorry. Okay, one more question, if you don't mind. What is the most craziest thing you've ever encountered?
The craziest thing I ever encountered, we were at Brushy Mountain Penitentiary, and oh my goodness. Well, the thing is that they used to barter with each other over cigarettes. So I had cigarettes, and I put them in my pocket, and we'd walk around, all the buildings in the prison, and no matter where I went, every once in a while my cigarettes would be pulled up and out of my pocket and dropped. So it didn't matter what pocket I put them in, they were like trying to take them.
They're like, I want that.
Right.
You have something I want.
Exactly.
That'd be a good, I know you said provoking is a bad thing, but would trigger objects be something that would be useful?
The cigarettes were a trigger object, so they were trying to get those because that's what they wanted most, is cigarettes.
Wow.
So they would pull them right out of your pocket.
That is so cool. I'll keep that in mind for sure.
Yeah, so do your research when you're going to these locations and find out, especially if it was like a saloon or something like that, bring a little bit of a drink with you and then set that up.
Oh, definitely.
An empty bottle of some sort.
I might have to wait till I'm of age, but
okay,
figure it out.
Or poker chips.
Poker chips, we got those.
Playing cards or things like that. Yeah, absolutely. Right, and like say again in the saloon, if you're playing cards, sit down and find a partner and play some poker. You don't have to really be good at it. You just gotta act like it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Miss Brandy.
Thank you.
First interview. We have our second interview. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Dan with Hasta la Muerte Chronicles.
And I'm Jay with the Paranormal Journal.
And I'm just going to ask them a few questions like I did with Miss Brandy a few minutes ago. So, what would you say is the best way to get some activity?
Get out there, research your places that you're going to go look into, find out, what happened there before, and that way when you get out there and you're recording, it'll validate what you find if there's anything that matches to the history. So yeah, I would start off with researching the places, locations. Of course, other places, cemeteries, but research who the person's buried there. Right now with Find a Grave, you can get so much history and stuff on things, people buried there. So see if you have any interaction with them.
Awesome.
Yep.
What would you say is the best equipment, like a K2 meter, REM pod?
So right now, with this, as far as back in the day, it used to be 35 millimeter camera, things like that. Now, we have our cell phones, we have equipment's getting better, and there's so much apps out there as well. Right now, for me, what's working is the GoPro. GoPro picks up some good EVPs, and also the Ghost Tube app has been working out. Yeah, it's been on point with questions.
What is the Ghost Tube app? Is that like a
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it definitely works out.
I'll definitely see if I can get that out.
Yeah, it works. So, but I would say try out others to see what works for you. But so far for me, that's what's been working.
Yeah, I think the EVP recorders, so audio recorders, your video camera, and EMF meters. I mean, just to see if you trigger any type of energy. REM pods are great. Anything that can give you a response to where you can determine if it's an intelligent response. Intelligent responses are great. So REM pods are great for that. EVP recorders are great for that. I think to me those are the most, for me, my favorite ones that I like to use.
And I would look into trying to just look at the video and try to debunk it. Can you replicate it or so? Is it like, look into it? Yeah.
One more, okay?
Absolutely.
I forgot. What would you say is a good place for starting out?
Someplace that there's no trespassing. Someplace, but always ask for permission. But I would say start off at a cemetery. It's easy, but start off at one that's safe. That's for me. That would be my go-to. But there's plenty of places you can look up online that have investigations that you can pay for, and they give you equipment and help you out. There's one here in San Antonio. Curious Twins Paranormal does them. But as far as that goes, that's where I would start off. I mean, if you have
Yeah, definitely ask for permission. Here in San Antonio, we have a city cemetery that's open till 11 o'clock. Has a lot of history, so you're able to walk around in there and such. Just respect the property,
Right.
and then again, look into like you mentioned, other hotels, and ask. A lot of times they'll allow you. They let you go and walk around in there. Just don't disrupt people that are there. But yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all.
All right.
Thank you.
This is our third interview of the day. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name's Mike. From Southern Heat Paranormal. We're out of Georgia. I've been a career firefighter for about 30 years. My partner couldn't make it today. He's been in fire service for about 18 years. So when I moved to Georgia from Pennsylvania, we sort of hooked up and got together. And what we do in our job and what we're exposed to led us to wanting to find more answers and explore things. And in the fire service, we're exposed to a lot of bad things. Usually we see people on their worst day, their last day, and I think a lot of that energy attaches to us or hangs around per se. And then when we go out and explore and investigate, I think the spirits can recognize that we can bridge that gap between this world and that world, almost like an empath. And we actually get like a lot of good answers and stuff like that. And we go out and speak to police, fire, and stuff like that with PTSD, military, because we know what they go through on a regular basis, on a daily basis, and they don't talk about it. And this was our route to vent.
Right.
And go out and do something that we like and we know a little bit about because we've been dealing with dead people for a long time, just in a different way, I guess.
Right, awesome. I'm going to ask you like one or two questions.
Sure. Is that all right? Am I just rambling too
No,
much?
you're good. That was perfect. It's like the most anybody's given. Awesome. So, what is your thoughts on the veil? Like, I know you kind of explained a little bit, but how do you perceive?
A lot of people have thoughts of where we're at in this world, what's in the next world. If it's I've heard dimensions, I've heard veil, I've heard realms, I've heard levels from 6 levels up to where the worst people are at the bottom or the top is like, like Jesus, Buddha, they're at the top of the levels and stuff like they can go between. So whatever you want to think, but myself, I honestly think that there's a gap that we try to bridge between the worlds, the veil per se, that where we work at and where we investigate at is that veil. I believe there's something there. And
I mean, it's not happening. Like, there's so many accounts.
Right, we get so much. Right, yeah, you just don't. A lot of people think when you die, and scientists will say this: when you die, it's just like it was before you were born. You don't even know, but I don't believe that. I've had people that have died in front of you that we brought back and have told me they've watched us.
Yeah, like astral projection.
Yeah, and there's going to be a big study on it, just on Facebook. But anyways, yeah, I believe there's something there.
All right, awesome. Yeah, I do too. Like, there's just like so many people, so many different backgrounds. Some maybe scam our
is. You know, there's a lot of fake stuff on the internet. But how much there is, it's kind of hard to believe that everybody's in on it. There has to be.
There has to be something with all this evidence.
And if there's not, it's the biggest proof I've ever seen.
Right. Yeah, there is people out for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
And we're not after that. We're after to find some manners like everybody else, just a little different approach. We love people, obviously.
Yeah.
That's our job. So, and I think we can communicate that well when we go investigate.
Yeah. I'm really bad about the transition between questions.
No,
But one more.
you can edit real well.
Yeah, I'll try. But one more, if that's okay. What is, like, what emotions or thoughts go through your head when you get evidence?
Obviously excited, depending on what we're looking for. I think a lot of times we're so hyper-focused with our job, and we expect stuff to happen.
Right.
Like when we go on a fire call or an alarm or medical call, we expect someone to be sick or there's going to be a fire. So yes, we get caught off guard with loud noises and, maybe disembodied voice or a whistle, hey, what's that, but we expect something to happen. And I think it's funny, a lot of times my partner will even say, we go to places and sometimes there's not a lot of activity. He sort of gets bummed out about it. He's like, man, I thought it would be more activity. And I think a lot of times they're just comfortable and just go about what they're doing and don't even pester with
That's an interesting way to think about it. I always thought they didn't want to talk.
And that could be.
But I never thought of the perspective that they're just comfortable with people who don't want to.
Just go about their things. Unless you're agitated.
Right.
We don't hunt demons and all that.
That's a different,
That's a different
level.
Point. Yeah. But we definitely get excited. I mean, that's why we do it.
Right, yeah.
We love that great outcome. It's like, we love to help people and save lives. And I think that plays off in the paranormal when we actually get that EVP or that response.
Bonus question. What's the craziest thing? So you do EVPs a lot?
Wait, what we do?
Yeah. What was like the craziest little piece of evidence that made you go, what just
We just filmed for Scared Network at the Euro Shrine in Bristol, Tennessee. If you ever get a chance to go there, you need to go there, explore. You can Google it and look it up. It's basically a guy built a shrine in his house that any religion can come and practice. To make a long story short, and part of that shrine, he has a cave built with water, stalactites, and all this stuff. So we had a camera set up. We were going to do a shot in that cave area, and we had a separate monitor to watch the shot from the camera guy. And as we were just sitting around getting ready, the sound on the monitor went off. So when I looked over, this black mass literally just crawled down the wall.
no.
Yeah. Like, what was that? And
That's gonna make me kind of like jump out of my skin and run.
Yeah. And I think as human beings in this level, we're always have that, fight or fight type. Because we can't see, and I think it's just from caveman days up, we were always afraid of the dark because that's when we got hunted. But yeah, that was the recently craziest thing. Yeah, just like this mask. Of course, we didn't want to record. Always.
But you were?
No. And the only reason I looked because the sound went out on the monitor.
Right.
I'm like, what?
That's what happens a lot too. Like they'll shut off their cameras immediately something happens. They don't like being videoed.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
We respect that.
Thank you so much for the interview.
Yes, it was great. Yes.
All right, here we have another interviewee. Would you like to introduce yourself to the camera, please?
Hey guys, Spooky Nerds, I'm Aaron Sagers. I do a show called 28 Days Haunted and Paranormal Caught on Camera and a podcast called Talking Straight.
Very nice. All right, so I'm asking you like one or two questions.
Okay.
They're obviously paranormal related.
All right.
What would you say would be the best thing
When you're doing a paranormal investigation, I would say the best thing you can do is, first off, go in, be curious, don't assume you have the answers because nobody has a rule book on this. There's we're all trying to figure out what this is about, but we don't have the rules. So don't assume you have these answers. But also be respectful. Go in, don't be the person that starts off with a question like, how did you die? Or or are you happy or angry or sad or whatever. No, instead, like, treat it like you're going to a party and maybe you don't know a person and you're just starting with some chit chat, you know, like, man, you know, we're in this civic center, like, pretty good parties here, pretty good weddings, how's the food, you know, just friendly stuff. And if you can get some responses out of that using a variety of investigative methods, then maybe you can kind of push it a little bit further. Sort of like when you make a new friend, the longer you get to know them, the deeper the conversation can get. So start respectful, start with easy questions, very kind of light questions, and don't go in hard. Don't be that like weird dude at a party that starts out real intense. You know?
Awesome. Okay. So, I had a question and I lost it. Okay. What would you say would be the most reliable place to start? I know some places definitely scam to say they're haunted and they're not. What would you say is the most reliable place?
Well, I'm going to give you two answers to that. First one might seem lame, but it's really important. It's like starting at a library, a bookstore, like reading, doing a lot of research, just kind of consuming as much information that you can. I think that's the most important thing. And it's something that a lot of times, even though I do TV shows, a lot of times the TV shows gloss over the research component, so don't do that. And then I would say, as far as locations, you never know what's going to be haunted. You know, you never know what's not going to be haunted. You know, this civic center that we're in right now could have activity. So don't be afraid to try places that don't have like a reputation. You might still be able to find some cool stuff in it, but don't automatically accept and believe what other people are telling you about what's haunted or what's a ghost or not. Do your own kind of investigation. So anywhere can be a good place to start, quite honestly. Me personally, I mean, I'm kind of like biased, but I like that part of my job is going to locations that when I was a kid was called trespassing. Now I get to do as part of a job. So you know, find whatever cool location you want to start in and just go for it. You know?
Awesome. Right. I have one more.
Go for it.
What would you say was the most haunted location that you've ever been to?
I don't know about most haunted. So like anytime I see anyone say like most haunted hotel in America, I'm like, did you get the ghost to fill out like a survey or a census? Like, you know, how does that work? So I don't know. But I've had some weird experiences in a lot of locations, kind of because of my job. You know, I'm able to travel to a lot of spots. But one of the first locations I went to that really kind of changed my way of thinking about things and also sort of launched me into this on a professional path is I started out as a journalist and I still work as a writer and a podcaster and everything. But I went to Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia. Have you ever heard of that one?
Yeah, we heard somebody else talking about that one. It's pretty intense.
Pretty crazy. It's an old prison and it looks like a castle, even though it wasn't designed. It was designed in like the 1800s, but it was designed to look like a medieval castle, to be scary looking on the outside. So but seriously, so it's like, so when people walk by it, so you're like, oh, I never want to end up in there. So they made it look scary. But that's a spot that I've had a lot of crazy experiences in, and it really kind of launched me on this job as like a professional path. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank
That's
you.
in Philadelphia?
That's in Philadelphia, Eastern State Penitentiary.
Bucket list.
Check it out, yes. And wait, I got a question for you.
Okay.
All right, see now I'm gonna flip the tables here.
Okay.
So what do you hope to accomplish through your paranormal pursuits? What are you looking for? What's the goal?
Well, I think the main thing I'm looking for is the existence of something.
Okay.
Because, and I've been super, I don't want to say empathic, but something inside me has always told me something was there.
Yeah.
Ever since I was a little kid. So yeah, mainly a lot of it is existence, but also trying to see my limits.
Yeah.
Me and my best friend, miss you, Emma. But yeah, I'm looking for existence and looking for, you know, seeing where I am with all of it.
Right.
And I also just think it's kind of fun. I like watching it. I feel like some of these spirits can also be lonely.
Yeah.
I've heard many sad spirits and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, treat it like
A person.
well, it is a person. It's
yeah,
just
they
sort of
were.
in a different stage, you know. Like, and even so, you're wearing the Loki backpack there. So did you watch the second season of Loki?
Not yet.
Okay, so I won't spoil anything, but you know, interesting paranormal theories can be found in different locations. So in the second season of Loki, again, I don't want to spoil it, but some things happen where, like, you know, Loki is interacting with himself. Okay?
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, yes. So that's actually something I think about with the paranormal too. Like sometimes the ghosts are us. It's almost like we're haunting various iterations or incarnations of ourselves. So always keep an open mind and don't just like think in a very standard way about the paranormal. Always say like, well, what could this be? I don't know. You know? So try it out.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks so much.
This is our lost count, but we have another interviewee. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Richard Estep from TV's Haunted Hospitals and writer of several books.
That I will be purchasing. So I'm going to ask you like one question.
Okay.
So you've written a lot about places from all over the world. It looks like, what would you say is the one that you're never going to go back?
Never go back to probably Fox Hollow Farm in Indiana, the home of the I-70 Strangler.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
it's,
can only guess the people.
yeah, right, the clue is in his name, but he strangled a whole bunch of men in the swimming pool underneath the house and abandoned their remains in the woods behind the farm. And it's just one of those really unpleasant cases where once you leave a place like that, you feel like you want to shower the whole time. So it's owned now by a very nice family who they've turned it into a happy family home again. But there's always that lingering underlying knowledge of what went on.
That sounds like, did anything happen there necessarily that you were like, no? Or is it just the story itself?
It's the story itself. The place is haunted. There is definitely paranormal activity there, but it's starting to quieten down a bit. However, they do still find bones and bone fragments in the remains in the woods behind the farm. So that story, I think, is not over, but I'll be happy to not go back.
Well, is there any paranormal activity that you were just like absolutely shocked by?
I don't know about shock, but one of the stranger things was in the pump room, which leads to the swimming pool, being in there in the dark and feeling very distinctly what was like fingertips brushing along my tricep. When there's nobody there touching me, there's no insect, no cobweb, no spider, was very kind of, yeah, that's the reaction.
I got chills thinking.
I got chills living it.
Sure. How many places have you done?
I've kind of lost count, honestly. I mean, I've been doing this for 25 years on both sides of the Atlantic. So it would be more than 100 and less than 1,000.
I'll take it. Okay, one more question if you don't mind. Have you ever regretted going there? Like, have you picked something up that you're just like,
The only time I've regretted going to places, it's because of the behavior of the living, not the dead, which tends to be the big lesson in this field. If you're going to be afraid of anything, it's something with a pulse.
I can understand that. Thank you so much for letting us interview you.
My pleasure.
To meet you.
Take care and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Okay, we have our last interview of the day. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Dustin Pari from television's Ghost Hunters and Ghost Hunters International.
Awesome. All right, so I have a few questions for you for somebody who's an amateur ghost hunter trying to get into the business.
Sure.
What would you say are some equipment that is 100% not okay?
You know, there's different things for different people. I kind of feel like a lot of the stuff can be used correctly, but a lot of people just don't do it that way.
Right.
I think the most important thing is no matter what you use it with good intention and know what works and what doesn't work. Like a lot of people don't know, like the REM pod that you see everywhere, you can trigger that with a key fob, you can trigger it with a walkie-talkie. If a fire truck or police car goes by, they also may inadvertently trigger that. So some things you have to just be more aware of what actually causes it to go off. It's not always spirit activity. I feel like a lot of the ghost boxes are programmed to just say demon, death, help, and I'm like, nah, I don't really buy that.
Right.
So I find like using it in a right way and knowing the parameters of the equipment is really the most important thing, but use what works for you.
Right. Okay. Awesome. Sorry, I am blanking.
That's all right.
What was I gonna ask? What has been your craziest experience as a ghost hunter?
So I get to go over to the Philippines, and we went to a place called the Clark Air Base. It was a outpost for American soldiers during the war. It's the only place I've ever been where every claim that was given to us, within the 2 or 3 nights we investigated, we saw or heard everything. There was like a disembodied voices we recorded. There were footsteps. We did record EVPs. We saw this white misty apparition. All the places I've been, I've never been to one where everything they said would happen actually happened.
Wow.
And it was really amazing, and it was cool because when we showed it to our clients, he was an elderly man who was a security guard there after the war, and they were trying to figure out what to do with the building. And when he told people his stories, they said he was crazy, they said he was a drunk, they laughed at him. And for many years, that started to become his reality. And so when we showed him the video, and we let him hear the audio, this guy just started crying, and it was like so redeeming for him. And I was like, this is why I do it. It's not for the scare factor, it's to help people understand.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, one more.
Yeah.
That's okay.
No, of course.
Have you noticed that there's any sort of backstories that tend to be more legit or more wanted to use, like wars or murder?
Yeah, I mean, it's no matter what you get into, you always want to do a little bit of research and history on it, because a lot of times stories take on a life of their own.
Right.
You know, so anything where you can find documentation about murders, or there's always rumors of, oh, there's remains buried here, there's bodies buried here.
Right.
But unless you have ground penetrating radar or you've done research and found it, you can't really go on that.
Right.
So I feel like just always take a very judicious approach and don't take people's word for what they say is going on.
Right. Awesome. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. No worries.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you as well. Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
Purple cat.
Alright, so I just got back from the Lone Star Paracon, and everybody I interviewed will be linked in the description below, along with this other person. I got a psychic reading while I was there to see what YouTube had in store for me, and she was pretty spot on with what I had hoped and with everything else, and so I highly suggest her. Her name is Readings by Joline. I will tag her in the description as well. So, without further ado, like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.